Hello, this is Georgina Rose, part-time esoteric content creator and part-time Center of Pestilence, and welcome back to the Dr. Darling YouTube channel. On this channel, we discuss mysticism, religion, the occult, paganism, and everything on the fringes of esoterica. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about Thelema. For those who don't know, I am a Thelemite, I'm a pagan, and I am somewhat of a perennialist for sort of what I come from and what perspective is. And Thelema is one of the cores of what I believe. It is one of my foundations, and it's something that I haven't talked about in a couple months. Of course, I've discussed it on, my Substack and live streams, but I haven't made a YouTube video about it in what feels like forever. So I wanted to make a video about Thelema that I don't really think I've ever seen anyone attempt to do before, and that would be the different types of Thalamites that exist. So Thelema, for those who are uninitiated and unfamiliar with what it is, this is the short version. I have an entire video talking about it, but I feel like for those who are new, it might be good for me to just do a very quick, dirty, simple explanation. Thelema is a religion, philosophy, and mysticism system that was sort of started by Aleister Crowley. It focuses around the idea of true will, and it's based in a lot of ideas from Western esotericism. It's a highly syncretic tradition, and it has certainly evolved since it began. So, when I say types of Thalamites, what do I mean? Obviously, if you are a Thelemite, there are a few things you kind of have to be. So all of these subtypes are within that constraint of Thelemite, right? To be a Thelemite, the most simple definition that is given a lot is to be a Thelemite is to accept the Book of the Law as a valid holy text and believe in true will. Now, that definition is kind of debated. Within Thelema, we like to argue with each other a lot, but I think that's probably the simplest definition possible. Though I do think if you decide to become a Thelemite very quickly, Thelema will become a little more than that and become something that's a bit more all-encompassing than that sort of simple, I guess, requirement to be a Thelemite. That's sort of the minimal requirement. Now, let's get into our types of Thelemites. So first, I wanted to talk about a group of people that I would call proto-Thelemites. So, what is a proto-Thelemite? That would be people who take from the traditions that led up to Thelema and then put those traditions through a Thelemic view. So, for those who don't know, Thelema is heavily built on what came before it. Thelema is not some tradition that came out of nowhere, right? The ideas in Thelema, the majority of them aren't even really new to Thelema. They're simply reinterpreted through a Thelemic lens. So Thelema has a combination of Eastern mysticism, it has some pagan elements, it has Kabbalah, it has Hermetic ideas, it has Gnostic ideas, and it even pulls from some other traditions beyond that. And so to be a proto-Thelemite is to be someone who follows all those ideas, follows those traditions. They may not even call themselves a Thelemite, but they use them in a Thelemic way. That means that when they approach these traditions, they are doing it from the idea that I am using these traditions in order to discover my true will and to accomplish the great work, which is fundamentally a Thelemic view. So that would be type 1. Now, type 2 is the Thelemite that you're going to see the most and the one that immediately comes to mind. I call them the traditional Thalamites or traditional Thelema, whatever you want to call them. And they are people who are very, very focused on Crowley. So Crowley, in a sense, is a founder of Thelema, a prophet, whatever it is you want to call him. He was the one who stitched everything together and had some spiritual revelations that led to the Thelemic worldview. Now, he is not the only important Thelemic voice, and to be a Thelemite is not to love Crowley. There are even Thelemites who are quite critical of Crowley. For me, I actually am relatively critical of Crowley. I think that his hedonism is a thing that really held him back from discovering his true will, and I'm very critical of that element within Crowley. But there are other critiques of Crowley. Some I think are better than others, but I guess I could make an entire video going through the critiques of Crowley and which ones I think are legitimate and which ones I think are kind of cringe. But these people are very focused on Crowley. They are often in Thelemic organizations. There are a variety of Thelemic organizations. A lot of people will be in them. They very much incorporate all three parts of Thelema. They incorporate the philosophy, the religion, the mysticism system, and make it sort of the holistic system. So that'd be the traditional Thalamites. Those are the people you're going to encounter the most. The next type of Thelemite that you see are what are known as Typhonian Thalamites. So Typhonian Thalema is a break-off of Thelema. It was started by a guy named Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant was a student of Thelema, but he took it in a slightly different direction. In a sense, Typhonian Thalema is far more antinomian or left-hand path than regular Thelema ever was. It explores things that are not in traditional Thelema. And it has this, I guess, Lovecraftian vibe to it. It's not based on Lovecraft. People like to kind of joke that it's Cthulhu Thelema, but it does have a sort of Lovecraftian feel to it. There are ideas like the tunnels of Set, that emerge in Typhonian Thalima that don't exist in traditional Thalima, and people who become Typhonians tend to deviate quite a bit. As well, the spirits that you work with within Typhonian Thalima are pretty radically different than the ones within regular Thalima, and as well the view on Karanzan, who is one of the more scary and dark entities within the Thalamic system, is viewed in a slightly different light. Typhonian practice is relatively similar in the way it's set up, but the spirits they use and the themes that they work with are pretty different. It's more chthonic, more antinomian, and I do find that Kenneth Grant, the guy who started it, a lot of his books are a bit more tricky to understand and read, so keep that in mind if you look into Typhonian Thalima. It's a legitimate and complex system, but it is a little darker and it's got a different feel to it. But the thing is, even within Typhonian Thalima, even though of course there are deviances, the core philosophic undertone and the things that it's pulling from are still similar, right? There's still that core of Thelema within Typhonian Thalima, which is why it's not an entirely separate system. The next type of Thelemite that you're going to encounter is the Eclectic Thalamite. So the Eclectic Thalamite is someone who is in a Thelema, but they mix their Thelema with other systems. Now, this varies from the Proto-Thelemite because the Proto-Thelemite is pulling from what came directly before Thelema, whereas the Eclectic Thalamite is often stepping outside of Thelema. They still will use elements of Thelema, they still will work with specific Thelemic spirits, but they also mix it with other systems. If you notice, there's a percentage of Thelemites who will call themselves like both Thelemite and pagan, and I would say these people tend to be within the Eclectic Thalamite category. I would put myself in the Eclectic Thalamite category because while I am at my core a Thelemite, I believe in true will, I believe in the Book of the Law, I do believe in incorporating other systems into what I do, right? I am as well a European pagan. I'm very interested in the deities of paganism, but even though I believe in that, I still filter it through a Thelemic metaphysics, right? I still am, seeing that soft polytheist, emanationist concept while I work with these deities. So while I am, of course, a pagan, my paganism is still from a Thelemic metaphysical lens. So that is what the Eclectic Thalamite is. It's someone who mixes it up, who adds things. As well, I've seen a lot of crossover between Thelemites and Chaos Magicians, and I would put these people in the Eclectic category as well. For those who don't know, chaos magic really emerges from a guy named Austin Osman Spare. Austin Osman Spare was a student of Thelema and was close friends with Kenneth Grant. And his ideas, while he didn't call them chaos magic, were going to later lead to the development of chaos magic. And so I've noticed people who are really into Spare are in a sense still Thelemic, but they are incorporating Spare's ideas and chaos magic. And so they become a sort of, I guess, big tent Thelemite, an Eclectic Thalamite. And these people make up a bigger percentage of Thelema than you would think. So, Parsonite Thalima. Jack Parsons was one of the most important students of Thelema. He, if you are an American, is going to be the most important Thelemite in American history. He was a rocket scientist and, of course, a Thelemite. And his Thelema sort of changed a lot of things. He did a lot of these really complex rituals, and some of these rituals have become some of the most controversial rituals within Thelemic history. In one ritual in particular, he went out and he channeled a text known as Liber 49. Liber 49 was, to him, the fourth chapter of the Book of the Law. For those who do not know, the Book of the Law is the holy text of Thelema. It is incredibly important. It is broken into 3 chapters, one by Nuit, one by Hadith, one by Rahorquit. Aleister Crowley, while he was on his honeymoon in Cairo, channeled the Book of the Law, and the Book of the Law became the central text of Thelema. There are a number of other holy texts within Thelema known as the Class A documents, but the Book of the Law is the most important of the Class A documents. So him claiming that his channel text is the 4th chapter of the Book of the Law is, of course, a bit, I wouldn't say heresy, but it is a bold take. And at the time, Thelemites were very mixed on how they viewed him. Crowley himself was not a huge fan of Parsons, and a lot of Thelemites called him messy because Thelemic ritual is very sort of organized, it's structured, it's formal, whereas he wanted to make it more, primal, which is a big stylistic change. Nowadays, when we talk about modern Western occultism, there is a much more primal feel and charismatic feel to the rituals that people do, but at the time it was much more structured and formal, particularly in the high magic spirit that Thelema originated from. So people who are Parsonites are typically very moved by Jack Parsons. As well, if we talk about Babylon, who does appear here and there within the Thelemic canon, is really expanded upon by Jack Parsons. A lot of what people think of when they think of Babylon today is what Parsons discovered. As well, Parsons poses a duotheism, much like the one seen in Wicca, but he argues that Horus and Babylon are the god and the goddess. As well, towards the very, very end of his life, he sort of started his own tradition called the witchcraft, which sadly, since he died young, was never expanded upon as much as people wish, but a lot of people have tried to expand upon it and have explored his ideas. And so there's this whole like faction of Thalamites, particularly in the United States, who are very, very moved by Parsons and are very informed by his ideas. Now I would like to give a little intermission to my video. Is it pretentious to put an intermission in a YouTube video? I don't know, but I'm gonna do one. So this video is made in part possible by Keen. Keen is an online psychic service, much like the psychic hotlines of old, I guess the 90s, early 2000s. Is that old now? I guess it's old. Much like that, they are a psychic call-in service. What you do is you go to their website and you look up whatever service you're looking for. They have astrologers, they have mediums, they have intuitive readers, they have psychics, they have tarot readers, they have everything. And you can call someone on the phone. Basically, you put pull your website up, they connect you to the person, and then you give your information, and then they call you. You have a conversation on the phone. It charges by minute, and they give you a reading. I got a reading before making this video, and I was really shocked. I didn't know what to expect because I'd never done a psychic over the internet. I had only done psychics that were either by my friends or by going to a place in person, and I was really blown away. I left the reading thinking about things for days, and it really helped me make some decisions in my personal life. As well, on this website, you can sort by rating, so you can make sure you're getting a psychic that other people like and approve of. If this interests you, I have a special deal for my subscribers or people watching this video. It's in my description box. Use my link below. It helps me out and will help you out, and you can get your own reading from Keen. I really recommend the service, and I genuinely enjoyed what they told me. So, back to the video. The next type of Thelemite that I want to discuss is the most, I guess, controversial type of Thelemite out there. And that would be how I'm going to call them the reformist Thalamites. So this is not really one group or one movement, but a variety of movements within Thelema that I'm going to sort of put in the same category. Some of them call themselves progressive Thalamites, some call themselves post-thelemites, some call themselves like neo-Thalamites. I've seen a lot of terms for these people, and some really aggressively reject the term Thelema at all. They see themselves as beyond Thelema, and they don't even want to be associated with Thelema. And this group of people is strange because essentially what has brought them to their position is a rejection of what Thelema was and a desire to reform Thelema. Now, I do think that there are some problems with the modern Thelemic movement. However, I think that some of the solutions posed by the reformists go a bit too far. Some of the common ideas is to drop Crowley from Thelema, to try to do everything we can to cut Crowley out. Now, the reasoning for this is typically one of political reasoning, saying that Crowley is like not woke enough or something. Obviously, I reject that one, but you know, there's some other reasons. They're like, oh, Crowley was imperfect, we don't need him, blah, blah, blah. Some reasons better than others. Another thing that I've noticed amongst the people is if they're not trying to reject Crowley, they're trying to reject traditional order structure. They're trying to make a more like anarchist Thelema. Alternatively, I've seen some of these people not really do it out of a, I hate what Thelema was, but out of a, I think that we're beyond Thelema. And so what these people who say they're beyond Thelema are, in contrast to those who are trying to just kind of eradicate what Thelema was, they're like, we're no longer in the Aeon of Horus. Quick Aeonic Succession explanation. I feel like I should explain this so that it makes sense what these people believe. So a core idea within Thelema is the idea of aeons, or that history can be broken into these long periods of time, and that they are, in a sense, kind of cyclical. The idea of aeons rejects the popular idea that history is a linear line of progress or a linear line of decline. I think if you know anything about history, you know that that's absolute nonsense. There are a variety of other esoteric systems that have this kind of idea, particularly in Hinduism, they're the idea of ages, that sort of cycle. But in Thelema, we have the idea of aeons. Similar-ish idea, I guess. So there was the first Aeon, which is the Aeon of, you know, nature-based paganism, the goddess, blah, blah, blah. Aeon 2 was the Aeon of Christianity and of the man-based death-style religions, right? The Abrahamic faiths. And then we are in, according to Crowley, Aeon 3, the Aeon of Horus, which was embarked upon when the Book of the Law was channeled. And this would be an Aeon of confusion, of change, of transition, and of individual spirituality, right? This would be a chaotic, sort of warlike time, which is encapsulated by Ra Horquith's chapter of the Book of the Law, but it would help us eventually find a new structure, a new way of functioning, and then once that happens, we would enter the Aeon of Mot, or the Aeon of Peace and Harmony. Now, a lot of these people who see themselves as beyond Thelema claim that the Aeon of Horus is already over, and that we are currently living in the Aeon of Mot. And because of that, we need to sort of change our ritual technology to serve the Aeon of Mot. And so these people are typically inspired heavily by Nema, who is a Thelemic writer. People are huge Nema fans typically. I personally believe there is no way around the idea that we are in the Aeon of Horus. I think a lot of what Crowley predicted would happen in the Aeon of Horus has objectively happened. We've had a mass deconstruction of society, we've had a lot of chaos, a lot of being unsure where to go next, and a sort of restructuring of everything. The Aeon of Horus, I think, can be viewed in either two ways. In a very positive way, that it's sort of a restructuring of society, we're changing, or in a negative way, where it's like, this is a destruction of everything that once existed, this is chaotic. And I think viewing it in one of these two lenses is sort of how you want to interpret it, or how you view, I guess, society and culture. But I think regardless of how you view Aeon of Horus, whether I think it's good or bad, it's clearly happening. I think that there's no way around the fact that what the Aeon of Horus is described as is what we're currently living through. It's just like, how do we move out of it is, I think, the big question of our time, and eventually achieve that Aeon of Mot. I think that's something that I can't completely answer for us. I don't really know, but eventually I hope we figure it out. But I don't think we're in the Aeon of Mot yet. I can't buy into that. I don't agree. But there are a lot of people who are modest who do think this. And I would put them in the reformist Thelemite category because they are, in a sense, like after Thelema. So I think they belong here. In general, the like reform Thelema category is really broad and encompasses a wide variety of people with different reasons and different arguments for why they feel that we have moved beyond what traditional Thelema was. And now, in terms of finding like what type of Thelemite you are, I don't think you need to pick. I remember back in the day, there were a lot of videos like this for pagan types or witch types, and there was sort of this implicit pressure that you have to like pick a team and decide to be one of these things and that you can never move from it. I don't agree with that. Thelema, as long as you are following your true will, is really up to you. Your true will is something that is discovered with time and with exploration, and it's not something you're going to immediately know. And once you sort of start getting into it, you'll start to see what your path is. So I would say let your practice evolve and flow how it is meant to go. These are just general tendencies I've noticed. You don't need to pick one, you can be between them. The reason why I made this video is so that people know that these different traditions and tendencies exist, so they can exactly know where they fit in. Because I think the more knowledge we have, the better. I'm sure people in the comments have strong opinions about these different types of Thalamites. They are all sort of infighting all the time. And I hope that this video at least sort of inspired you to look beyond, you know, 101 Thelema books and think about the type of Thalamites that are out there and think about where you fall in this world. So if you want to support me and continue to enable me to make videos, I would really appreciate that. I have a Patreon where you get all my videos early, you get an extra video every month, you get ritual guides, and if you're a high enough tier, you get to meet with me once a month and pick my brain and talk occultism with me. I really love working with those people. As well, I host a book club where every month we read. They're typically like essays, so I can make sure that everyone finishes it. I don't like giving people super long books because, you know, then it becomes a little bit of cat herding, where you can, you know, read our little thing and then we get on a live call. I will be there and discuss it for about an hour. As well, I have a Ko-Fi where you can donate directly to me, and a Venmo if you want to also donate directly to me. Both those are in the description box. As well, I can be found on a variety of social media platforms. I'm here on YouTube. I host the podcast, The Postmodern Iconoclast, also on YouTube, but also on podcasting platforms, depending on how you like to listen. I'm on Odyssey, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Twitch. I stream Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. EST for an hour. I am on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and I think that's everywhere. I'm also on Telegram. I'm on literally every platform. I don't know if there's any platforms I'm not on. So check me out everywhere. I would really appreciate that. And super thanks to Keen for making this video possible and enabling me to keep making videos. So like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell. And if you're subscribed for 93 days, you'll meet a Holy Guardian Angel and you will never need to know what type of Thelemite you are again. All right.